Imagine that you are the person who was carrying that large window pane that now lies in shattered shards around your feet. You look at the pieces in dismay because you realize that you can no longer put these pieces back to their former smooth, translucent self. But suddenly, a smile lightens your face. You smile because you see forms of mosaic art that these pieces of glass can form. You see that because now you're looking at the spaces between the pieces of glass. I'm Dr. Frank Douglas, the CEO and founder of Safe Haven Dialogues. I'm also the host of the Reframe for Resilience podcast. In this podcast, we engage guests and discuss situations where they use different approaches to solve problems. In short, where they reframe the problem. And we also try to understand how those approaches helped with resilience. My guest today is Mr. Thomas Teles, and he is the HR manager of the Walmart Distribution Center. We are delighted to have him. Tom, it's a delight to be meeting you again. I enjoyed our first meeting. And so our audience will get a sense of your background and the things that are challenges for you today. Could you tell us a bit about your journey?
Sure. Well, again, thank you for having me, Dr. Douglas. It's a pleasure. I look forward to speaking with you here today. So a little bit about my journey. Really grew up in retail for the better part of 20 years. So, out of high school, started at the ground up as an hourly part-time cashier. And I really enjoyed the job and what I did, and that I ended up sticking with the workforce as opposed to the traditional schooling route. And quickly realized I enjoy the job, the potential I had personally, as well as the potential opportunities that the field afforded me. Proud to advance through management, through the workforce. Really enjoyed that again. Really saw the potential. Again, the career arc that I could have. Staying in the retail field, met a lot of great people, really good leaders. From there, advanced through training leadership positions, and that's really when I discovered my affinity, for the people space, right, the HR space of the business. And really, that's when I started to reframe my mindset for my career arc and realized, where I wanted to be and where I wanted to continue to go. I did need to go back to school and finish my degree. Proud to have accomplished that later in life, as a parent. So that was definitely a proud accomplishment. And from there, just continue to work on my experiences, again, in the people space. Really kind of understanding the motivation for the experiences I needed to get. And after a few years, kind of realized where I was at, the opportunities really weren't there for me where I wanted to go. And again, not an easy decision, but again, talking about reframing resilience, thinking about really asking myself the hard questions of where I needed to look for, to get to where I wanted to be to achieve my goals. And again, that's where I started to look externally and, very happy, very honored, very humbled to join a great company like Walmart, work in a great building with some great leaders. And again, I couldn't be more happier, excited, and fortunate to be part of the Walmart team. And that's where I'm at today, continuing to look to, progress my career, progress my experiences, my education as well. Sky's the limit. So I'm excited.
So as you then change from retail into what you described as the people space, now into the human resources area, what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, great question. I think, right, you're going from the operations space, right? So you have an operations mindset, and right, that's very objective to your point, right? So your strict quotas, metrics, budgets, and there's always a people aspect. I feel, right. If you're a great leader, there's always going to be that people aspect, but it's right. Your goals, your metrics, they're all very objective, and unfortunately, sometimes as a leader, right, that depending what realm you're in, it's sometimes hard to dedicate some of that time to the people space, right? It's just right the way the workforce is set up. Sometimes we're transitioning fully to the people space, right? It is a little bit more subjective, right? Um, but that's the role, that's your job, is to continuously work with your teams, work with your people, and really, so I like to speak, right, you're the guardians of culture, you're the guardians of engagement. All right, the leaders, right, they directly impact that, um, but you oversee that, right? You're that trusted source, right, in the workforce, in the building, however, your role geographically is set up, right? You're that trusted piece that people come to, whether it's hourly associates, salaried managers, so on and so forth. But you're really the keepers of the culture in a people space.
Yeah, in safe haven dialogues, we think of uh, equity and inclusion as being the two things that really ignite opportunities for the individual, ignite opportunities for the organization, because in our view, they are the two pillars, if you like, of the culture that is formed in that organization. And what are your thoughts about that? Since you are a keeper of the culture, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely, right. So I think, right, it's all about fairness and consistency. No matter what the issue is, no matter who the people are. And again, that goes back to that integrity piece. And in terms of inclusion, uh, I think so many times we like to put those things in a box, right? Or have it set up as an agenda, right? Versus, again, what that actual culture means. And that's just having that total inclusive environment, and providing everybody opportunity, um, to just continue to grow professionally, give them a safe space to grow personally, give them that safe space to make mistakes, to ask questions, to throw their hat in the ring for different positions. Again, giving them that honest feedback if they didn't get that spot, what they need to do, where they need to go to get to that piece of it. But I just think it's so important to keep that mindset, um, as something that's just constantly living, breathing. It's not an agenda. It's not a check the box. Um, right? It's just being fair and consistent across the board in everything we do day to day with everybody that walks through that door. And as those people walk out the door for the day, for the week, you know, going back to their shift, if they're walking off to a different employer, that they're leaving better off, with a better skill set and a better appreciation, um, for what they learned and experience versus when they first
Mhm.
walked in.
Mhm. No, I like that. I remember early in my own career being in a one of these training sessions, and I remember coming away very impressed when the facilitator, said to us, the important thing is as a leader is that whether the person stays in your organization or goes to another organization, you had made that person better in what they do.
Absolutely.
And that always struck me. It was not about making the person better so our organization would succeed. It was making the person better for the person's sake. And they can contribute to us, or they may end up going elsewhere and contributing. And that
Absolutely.
always stayed with me.
It is. And I think one lesson I learned early on, right, is you think early on what makes a great leader, what makes yourself a great leader is you're the be all end all, right? If
Yeah.
you leave, everything falls apart. And really, from some of the great leaders I worked with, and going down through history, is what makes a great leader is the teams they build and the leaders that they help develop to
Yeah.
become leaders themselves and even go on to greater things. And boy, that's really one of the best pieces is when you help or you play a part in someone, be successful and move on to bigger and better things. Again, maybe not with you in the same job with the same employer, but it's a great feeling to really see people grow and spread their wings and just give people the opportunity. Again, just be fair and consistent and give everyone the opportunity to make the most of themselves. And again, just have that honest feedback with them and give that, honest career path and advice and see them spread their wings. There's so much talent out there. It really is amazing. You just have to give people an opportunity and be honest with them and really pull honesty from them as well. It's not easy, but that's the best path forward.
So my last question, if there were two or three things you would tell one of the people in the people space that you now help to lead, and in the culture that you help to keep and to grow and improve, what would you tell them are two or three things they should do or continue to do to keep flexing their resilience muscle?
Absolutely. So I would again, think again, just keep pushing for that honest feedback for yourself, right? I think it's not always fun, right? Nobody is ever totally comfortable hearing any potential opportunities you need to work on, but I think you really know you're ready to take that next step or start taking those next steps when you're not afraid to ask for that consistent, direct feedback, right? Because that's what you want to do. So, definitely ask for that consistent, honest feedback. Obviously, you want to take action on it. I think the other piece is to get to where you want to go, especially if you're in the people space, right? It's very important that you're direct, right? Doesn't mean you're rude if you're direct, and you have to be able to have boundaries for yourself and for your teams. And again, you're the keeper of that culture. You need to protect those boundaries as you continue to develop in the people space, again, as well as personally. And I think the last thing is always, and I'm a big proponent of, you know, think big picture always. Don't get lost in the weeds. Try not to let yourself get siloed. Think big picture at the same time. Keep things simple. The details will come, but it's easy enough to get lost in the weeds out there. So that would be my three things. Again, just honest conversations, honest feedback, be direct, and think big picture, but keep it simple.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I like those three things, and it seems as they're a good recipe, if you like, for you to reframe. Because if you're honest and you seek honest feedback, it gives you the opportunity to start thinking about the big picture. And indeed, as you said, but also keep it simple. Don't get lost in the weeds, but get the honest feedback. Thank you very much. And I appreciate the fact that you shared with us your own experiences along your journey. And I'm quite sure that our audience today, many of our audience have learned things from this conversation.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Dr. Douglas. Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much, and you're welcome. My pleasure.
it. Okay. Have a good weekend.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.